So as you can see, I am getting ready to do an oil change. It needs one. But I'm also going to be replacing one of the tie rods. And while I'm doing that, a lot of people have been asking me for an in-depth look at my suspension. So I figured while I'm under there, it'd be the perfect time to show you guys exactly what my front suspension looks like. And I need to do some checks on the rear as well. So I'll just go through and give you an in-depth look at both the front and the rear suspension while I do, you know, some other general maintenance kind of items. I got the tire off, the wheel off, I mean. Gotta lift it up. I don't have it on jack stands, but it should be pretty good. It should hold it. I have a bottle jack under the lower control arm and a jack on the whatever you call it there, the frame tab on the frame. This is probably not the safest way to do it, but it's what I can do right now with what I have. So here's my front suspension. So you can see these are Monroe shocks, just heavy duty commercial grade shocks made for this van. And then here's the 7390 Moogs, the springs that I bought, made for I think a 3500 Ram truck, a Dodge Ram, but I'm not exactly sure what it's for, what the actual application is, but it works great in this configuration. I trimmed down the bump stop here. I don't know if you can see that, right, a little bit. It used to be this tall, like an inch taller, but I trimmed it down by an inch basically and then tapered it to a point. I know that's kind of hard to see, but that's what that looks like, right? And it does hit up against the frame a little bit. The bump stop, you can see, is shiny here. It's a different sort of, you know, color. That means the bump stop's been hitting on there. It looks like quite frequently, so that, you know, for it to be that shiny. So yeah, I mean, going over bumps and stuff, like I can feel it when it hits the frame, but it's really not that bad. It just feels like a sudden stop. It's not super rough. It doesn't feel like it used to when it used to be metal on metal. There's no big smacking sounds or anything. It's just to prevent the shock from bottoming out, the bump stop there. So, and then down here, I have washers, basically spacing the shock down about half an inch. There's about 10 washers here, I think, or maybe it's 7. Yeah, it's 7. So just washers I bought from Home Depot. I'm going to check these bolts, make sure the torque on them is still good, that they're not coming loose. It doesn't feel like it, but obviously my fingers aren't the best gauge of that. So I'll check those. And same thing on the other side. Pretty much same setup, so I don't feel like I should, you know, crawl under there to give you a look at that side, because it looks, you know, exactly the same as this side, just in reverse. So yeah, that's basically all it is. And I got a 2.5 inch drop from this setup, I would say, and it rides like butter, other than the tie rods breaking. But these tie rods, you know, like I said, I bought off an eBay kit for 60 bucks for 10 of them. So I got these two here, right, inner two. It came with the ball joint, so the ball joint is also eBay Chinese, so this probably needs to be replaced soon. The lower ball joint, upper ball joint, lower ball joint. It also came with these guys right here for the steering. It holds the steering arm thingy. So it came with these guys, so that's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 pieces. So times 2, right? So both sides, so 10 pieces, 60 bucks. You really can't beat that. I don't think these are ever going to be an issue. So these weren't an issue when I replaced them. They still look like they were brand new, basically. I guess not new. I mean, they were 20 years old, but they didn't look too bad. But I replaced them anyway, just because. But the tie rods were definitely both shot, so that was good. That's why the steering was really loose and wonky at first. But it's been tighter until it broke, and then it's been kind of weird again. So obviously replacing those, or this one. And then the outer tie rods, I think, are okay, but you know, I'll probably end up replacing those at some point also. So I'm in front of the rear tire right here, looking back towards the back of the van, and basically it's just a flip kit right? And you can see the flip thingy, what do you call it, the kit here. And I tried to weld it in there, but I have a feeling that the weld's broke. And now that this thing's kind of loose in there, so I might need to take this apart and re-weld it all the way around. I might do that later though, because I've been planning on maybe sourcing a new axle that has disc brakes, because the 2003 models of this van, I think the extended version or the 3500 version came with disc brakes. So if I can source that from a junkyard somewhere, I might swap the rear end out, you know what I mean, just so I can have disc brakes in the back. Not really for any reason. It's not like the drums are bad, but you know, drums are fine usually, but you know, just to have discs, I know it's cool, I guess, I don't know. And then here's the shocks, right? I got these what do you call them, adjust-a-load shocks from Monroe. These are made for a caravan, so they're a little bit shorter than the stock ones. They don't make these springs, or these shocks, I guess, for this van. So I had to actually modify these shocks to fit, because the eyelets were a little bit small, or the ends were a little bit too long. So I had to grind some off on each side to make them fit into the pocket down here too. But I do have a set of Bilsteins that I found in the junkyard that didn't look like they had too many miles on them. So if these kind of let out, I mean, they're good so far, but if these let go, then I can always replace them with those. So you can see here I've trimmed down my bump stop on the back also pretty severely, and these I just cut flat, which I sort of regret. I probably should have tapered them like I did on the other side, like a little triangle, instead of just flat like that, because when it's flat it smacks up a lot harder. There's no gradual sort of cushioning, right, on the bounce. It's just kind of a smack and then you're off. So if it was tapered, it would, you know, the point would hit first and then it'd be a more gradual sort of you know, like a rebound or a cushion. So yeah, pretty much that's kind of how the rear is set up on both sides. Yeah, not much other than that. I mean, I have some spacers on here to move the rear tire out this way about 1.5 inches towards the outside, so it has a meaner look. But other than that, that's pretty much it, and everything else is stock. I didn't have to, you know, cut the floor at all. The differential does not hit the bottom of the body, so even going over really kind of severe bumps and stuff, so that's good. I did have to rotate the axle a few degrees, maybe like 2 or 3 degrees, and I did that by adding metal to one side of the flip kit, right on the rear side, so that it would rotate the axle forward and down like this. Or else when you lower the van, the axle sort of wants the you know, the regular configuration of it, it kind of wants to kind of angle upwards like this. It'll rotate like this because you're lower, and that's not good for the drive shaft, like the pinion angle. So I just rotated it back this way. I mean, it wasn't super scientific, but there's no vibrations or anything. Everything seems to work fine. It sounds good. There's not making any kind of noises or anything, like crazy weird, you know, whining or anything. So I think it's working for now. I think in the future, once I swap the rear end out, I'll make it maybe a little bit more scientific. I'll actually measure like angles and stuff like that. But you know, for now, it's working. I'm not really like trying to turn this into like a show van or anything, or trying to really race it really hard. Maybe later on I will, once I stop, you know, living in it. But for now, this works, and I haven't had any issues. So yeah. So that's the suspension, both front and rear. If you guys have any other questions, or if you want to see anything, then go ahead and ask, and I'll try to do my best to answer any kind of questions you have. So it's really kind of a simple setup. It's not that hard. And I got 4 inches in the rear and 2.5 inches in the front. So I'm also, the thing is though, it's actually not that low, because my wheels are really big and my tires, so that sort of fills in a lot of the gap. If I was on 16s and a 50 series tire, then definitely it wouldn't look as low as it does. I would want to go actually a little bit lower, but you know, in the front, really it's pretty much pushing it as far as it can go using stock suspension parts without modifying anything too heavily. If I wanted to go lower in the front, I would definitely use Dakota drop spindles. I've been looking at that actually, upgrading to those in the future, because even though the brakes are smaller, the Dakota does have aftermarket parts and they have cross-drilled rotors and stuff. So that actually might help with the stopping power, even though the rotors are a little bit smaller. And they have, I think they have better brake pads and stuff. And I can always upgrade the calipers, because I think they have some high performance ones for the Dakota. So I could definitely do that. And in the rear, obviously it's pretty simple for any kind of truck to lower it. So that wasn't too much work. The thing is, a lot of people have had to modify their bodies, their frames, so it doesn't hit, the differential doesn't hit up into, you know, the van. But on mine it doesn't. I use the combination of, oh, I forgot to show you the shackle in the back. It's a shorter shackle. So if you look right here, you can see this shackle, right? Usually it's about this long. I don't know if you can see where my fingers are, but it's about an inch or two longer. But these are really short, so they raise the van up actually when it's shorter, because when this is longer, it'll lower the van down. And that's why I think people are having the issue of the differential smacking into the body. It's because your shackles, I mean, first of all, you're way too low, right, for the van on stock, like stock parts, to for the differential not to. But if you want to go any lower than I am right now, which is pretty low, why is this not closing? Right, I'm also on an incline, so the tire, but I'm pretty much, you know, I'm tucked in this setup. My tires are pretty much tucked under the fender. So if you want to go any lower than that, then I would highly recommend getting a shorter shackle in the rear, so that your differential has a little bit of space to at least, you know, move. But you know, if you lower your body down, it's gonna hit eventually. So there's really nothing you can do about that. Just cut the tunnel and be done with it. But that's pretty much it. I'm gonna do the oil change and change out that tie rod and then call it a day. There's a Lakers game today, so I'm gonna root for them. And yeah, see you next time.